Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 68 of the Canberra Football Show. It's finals time. Michael, how's it going? We had some cracking matches this weekend.
We really did, Matt. There were some great games over the course of, the past weekend, and a result in particular that we'll get into, into the show when we reach it in NPLW that I think would have sort of certainly raised a few eyebrows, but that's what can happen in finals football, an element of sort of surprise and the unknown and unpredictability. So definitely a lot to, go through and unpack, but that's what finals football is about. NPL elimination, the semi-final match that took place between Monaro Panthers and O'Connor Knights. It was Monaro who came out 2-0 victors in this match. It was Jenkins and Michael John on the score sheet for Monaro in this one. So obviously they seal their place in next week's preliminary final against Gungahlin United to end O'Connor's finals campaign. And in terms of just how the match sort of unfolded, you could tell that obviously that the intensity was high from both teams as they knew what was at stake. Whoever lost this match was going home. Their season was to come to an end today. So you could tell right from the offset that, both of these teams really wanted it. They traded a few sort of chances back and forth to try and open the scoring. And that was, until the 40th minute mark where an absolute bullet of a header from David Jenkins, Matt, opened the scoring for Monaro in this one as it seemed to sort of just fly into the back of the net to give Panthers the advantage. It pretty much just looked as though he made the sort of perfect connection with the ball to head. I mean, when you watch it on replay, I mean, it sort of just flies in there, and you couldn't even really sort of track where the ball was. It was just an absolute bullet that went into the corner of the net. So a great header from David Jenkins to give Monaro the advantage in this match. And, to O'Connor's credit, though, they kept pressing. They were trying to make, good use, obviously, on the opportunity of playing finals football after just their first season back in the NPL. But the 72nd minute saw a hammer blow delivered against them, Matt, which, really made it difficult for them to try and get themselves back into this match. But it was substitute Michael John who nodded home, from a great cross from a Seb Woods, to make it 2-0 to Monaro and secure their passage to the preliminary final next time out. And it was a very good header from Michael John. He sort of just peeled off the defender there to sort of nod it back across goal. And obviously that was two-headed goals that Monaro managed to score in this game, which goes to show that they sort of do possess that aerial presence and aerial threat that sort of can cause some teams some stresses and make them feel uncomfortable, obviously. And that's what they were able to do against O'Connor in this match with their 2 goals through headers. I mean, the result obviously set in stone. Monaro are the ones who moved through, but I think O'Connor should be pleased with the effort that they were able to put forward this season, Matt. They were able to secure finals football in their first proper season back in the NPL after a long time. And, only kudos to, Trinich and the playing group on how they've sort of managed to go through their first season back where, not everyone would have even picked them to make the top 4, and it's what they were able to do, albeit it came in the last game of the regular season. But nevertheless, a great effort by them to make the finals in their first season back. They had some great sort of standout performers along the way, with the likes of Pat O'Rourke, Minot Smith and Michael Adams, just to sort of name a few of the players that sort of really stood out and made an impact for O'Connor this season. But obviously their fortunes weren't in O'Connor's favour in this encounter, and it means their season comes to an end. But like I have mentioned a couple of times now, I still think it's a very positive season on their front, and they can only sort of take this experience and this sort of hurt and heartbreak into next season where they'll want to obviously push further than this stage that they've managed to reach this time out. For Monaro, they'll now have a chance to clinch a grand final place for the first time in a very long time, Matt. As we know and as we've discussed over the years, they've endured many, many years sort of being outside the top 4 spots. And obviously when I think they were sort of in that position is when we had the COVID impacted season not too long ago. So that put an end to any sort of, finals football for that particular time. But now this gives them the opportunity to make good on what's been a good season for Monaro, obviously finishing in the top 4, qualifying for the Australian Cup as well. But they'll obviously be looking to, go all the way, and it'll be a very, very tough match against Gungahlin United this weekend, I should say. And it's going to be an absolute cracking match. But, kudos to Monaro for, booking their passage into the grand final. And like I said, O'Connor, a great effort by them, a great season. They fell a little bit short, but they can use this experience, especially with the young squad that they have, to really push on for next season and look to do, a little bit better, obviously, in this stage of the season.
Yeah, look, congratulations to Monaro. And like you said, I echo your thoughts about O'Connor, them doing so well. The one thing I will say is them doing so well in the NPL, coming up from NPL2, now called CPL, proves that relegation and promotion does work. We said at the start of the season that I'm sure we'll discuss O'Connor and a few of the teams later on in the next couple episodes before we wrap up this season. But O'Connor especially, we said them doing well was, probably best for Canberra football, because if someone from NPL2 comes up, they do well, they perform well. It proves that promotion relegation was a valid discussion for a very long time, and it was worth doing it. So well done to O'Connor Knights for being the first team to get promoted in a long time and do very well. And 13 years away is a long way away, and for them to make the finals immediately is a credit to the Tyraniches and everyone at O'Connor there. But overall, though, credit to Monaro. When I was watching this one, I thought this was one of Monaro's strongest defensive performances I've seen in a very long time. O'Connor did have their chances, but Monaro was just so solid defensively. Every time O'Connor pressed forward or tried to make those classic O'Connor breaks from play, immediately you had everyone from Monaro dropping back. It was a very, very solid performance from Monaro, and congrats to them for making the preliminary final against Gunners next week. Next up, we have the qualification semi-final between Canberra, Croatia and Gungahlin United. 3-2 it ended up to Canberra, Croatia. Croatia opened the score in the 17th minute as Daniel Baric ran on the end of a through ball and crossed it to Stephen Dominici, who took a touch and proceeded to crack an absolute bullet into the top right corner. This is Dominici's 151st NPL goal, so congratulations to him for hitting that 150 mark last week. Gungahlin leveled it 7 minutes later at 1-1 as Brindabella had plenty of space picked out a good low cross for Sam Habtemariam, who didn't waste any time striking it first time past Sam Brown. Canberra, Croatia struck back to take the lead as Nick Toneski was brought down in the box, and that was called for a penalty in the 30th minute. Stephen Dominici stepped up to calmly place it in the bottom right corner for goal 152 for him to take his side into halftime with the goal advantage and the momentum that comes with that goal advantage. Gungahlin brought themselves level again 10 minutes into the second half. A great passage of play with quick passes to this order: Green to Naumowski to Bernabeu Madrid to Sam Habtemariam, who cut across his defender and sort of slid when he struck the ball and was able to guide it into the back of the net. Croatia thought they took the lead when Stephen Dominici from deep, literally the halfway line, picked out a terrific through ball to Nick Toneski, who squared it for Daniel Baric. The goal was deemed offside by the linesman. This was probably a significant turning point in the game, even though there wasn't a goal. The second half was relatively 50-50 up until this point in terms of possession and chances and momentum and whatnot until this moment. This sort of fueled Canberra, Croatia, and the feeling sort of changed at the ground. Being fueled by being denied that goal, Croatia relentlessly pushed forward with some real quick passing. Ryan Keir beginning the play, and it ended with Daniel Baric 2 minutes after being denied that first goal. Croatia consistently pushed forward from this point, giving Gungahlin not many chances after this, and Croatia booked their spot in the grand final against the winner of Monaro versus Gungahlin next week, so they have the weekend off. Congratulations, Croatia, for booking their place there. Very close match, but after that third goal and just before that, the denied goal, it was all Croatia for the last 10 or so minutes that was left in this encounter. Gungahlin, though, the positives they can take from it is they kept fighting back in this game. They had some real good spells of play, especially at the start of the second half, getting the equaliser. And it looked like the game was going extra time, to be fair, before that third goal from Canberra, Croatia. They just weren't able to keep up with Croatia's intensity after that third goal. Robbie Tachenko came off injured as well around that halftime mark just before then. Hopefully he's doing all right. Gungahlin will now play Monaro next week, as you mentioned before, and the winner will play Canberra, Croatia in the grand final in a fortnight's time. So, Michael, we had a very, very competitive qualification semi-final here, which was also a replay of the 2020 final. So the grand final, will it be a replay of the 2020 grand final in Croatia versus with Croatia versus Gungahlin, or will it be Canberra, Croatia versus Monaro Panthers? Or we will all find that out next week, as the NPL semi-final week 2 fixture is Gungahlin against Monaro Panthers, Saturday, September 24th, 6 p.m. at Deakin Stadium. That's what it says anyway on Dribble. It could change before then. And the winner of this one will, of course, go to that grand final against Canberra, Croatia. That should be an absolutely cracking match, as we've already stated in these last two matches. Michael, who do we have next? What do we have next up? We have the NPLW, and we had two absolutely cracking matches with good performances from all four sides.
Yeah, we absolutely did, Matt. And first up, it was Belconnen United who booked their passage into the preliminary final this weekend, by defeating West Canberra Wanderers 3-1 in this match. So that means that Belconnen United will come up against Canberra, Croatia in next week's preliminary final. And, it sets up a mouth-watering clash, between two long-standing rivals. But obviously that's talking about the future. We'll get into this game for the time being, which was Belconnen United defeating West Canberra Wanderers. And, it was a tight, intense affair to begin the proceedings, Matt, as it didn't really take, it didn't take until the 39th minute for Clark to open the scoring with a nice volley from inside the box to give Belco the lead. It sort of just seemed to fall to her being in the right place at the right time from a corner situation. It was sort of just like a flicked on header, and she was able to get her right foot on it and steer it past the keeper to make it 1-0 for Belco. And, things would get better for Belco after the break as they doubled their advantage 6 minutes into the second half, as Carnegie found what looked like a cross, from that time, for the ball to sort of go over the keeper and make it 2-0. It definitely looked as though that she was trying to, get a ball sort of cross into the middle of the attacking box, but the ball just sort of found its way, sort of looping over the goalkeeper, which it did, and found the goal to make it 2-0 to Belconnen to double their advantage. And Belco pretty much sealed their passage, Matt, to the preliminary final with 20 minutes to go in the contest in the 70th minute, as Belco displayed their ability to hit on the counter attack, as Bomford displayed fantastic bits of skill to lose the defender and make it 3-0. It was really a classy goal from her to obviously make it 3-0 to Belconnen. Like I said, it really showed how dangerous they can be on the counter attack. It all started from a defensive corner. So, I mean, they were under a lot of pressure being 2-0 up, and we know how dangerous 2-0 scorelines can be in football, and to literally flip the switch, I should say, sorry, and turn that sort of into a quick counter attack, getting numbers forward. They created the 2v1 situation there. And, Bomford just has the sort of the calmness and the composure and the skill to, be the defender and find the back of the net. So that sort of displayed her class, and it really put the icing on the cake of a good Belconnen performance. And it's exactly what they needed heading into this weekend's match. On the flip side, West Canberra, obviously, they scored a consolation goal 5 minutes later through O'Callaghan, but it proved to be a case of them just getting into the game a little bit sort of too late. It was a nice goal from her, though. She sort of nutmegged the defender and then sort of placed the ball into the far corner of the net. But like I mentioned, it just proved to be a little bit too late for West Canberra to produce, a comeback of some sorts, as, at that point they were 3-1 down. They still needed to find 2 goals in, the space of 15 minutes, which is definitely achievable. But I mean, it's going to be difficult against a class opposition like Belconnen United are, and they managed to sort of, get in their structure and see the game out, and obviously produce the victory. So well done for Belconnen United. And for West Canberra, I mean, obviously their season comes to an end, but I think they can hold their heads up high. West Canberra, they had a tremendous season, considering that, many people would have looked at the teams at the start of the season, and not many would have seen or foreseen West Canberra being in that equation at the end of the season. But, they managed to snatch 4th place, and it's a great effort by them and what they've done, because they've been able to produce some really good results over the course of the season as well. And it's something that they should definitely look to, take a lot of confidence from and implement into next season, because they really did have a good season. So kudos to them, and well done to Belconnen United for getting themselves through to this weekend's preliminary final. Matt, who do we have next up?
Yeah, first of all, congrats to Belconnen United. Scotty Conlon's done a great job over there. Yeah, and like you said, West Canberra, they should hold their heads up high, had a good season. They also had a very good first half, I thought, in that one. They might have been a little unlucky going into halftime, 1-0 down. It was a pretty, they did a great job to hang in that one. But yeah, like you said, I think just some very classy play from some classy players there from Belco, and that sets up an interesting preliminary final against one of these sides I'm just about to get into now. So this one, Michael, absolutely cracking match over at Deakin on a rainy night. I hope my description of this match does it justice, because as Russ said on Facebook, it was one of the best NPLW matches he's seen. So I'll give it a crack anyway. Canberra Olympic were heading into this one without some key starters in Michaela Thornton, Tiana Mira, and Nicole Jaloka. As Jaloka and Thornton were at the futsal championships, which they won there for Australia. So congratulations to them. And yeah, it didn't stop Olympic from having a strong start. Olivia Gurney scored the opener as she beat 2 Croatia defenders going for the ball and just burst into the box to finish it. Grace Gill brought Croatia level with an absolutely stunning free kick, as she does so well with those free kicks there from well outside the box 11 minutes later. 8 minutes late into the second half, Ash Sykes was brought down into the box, leading to her finishing off a penalty to retake the lead for Olympic 2-1. 10 minutes from full time, Vanessa Ryan extended Olympic's lead as Ash Sykes' shot was parried by Nat Vasta. However, Vanessa Ryan was in the right place at the right time to pounce on the rebound to make it 3-1. So by this point, Canberra Croatia down 3-1 with 10 minutes remaining. They needed to dig deep to come back from this 2-goal deficit. Incredibly, 2 minutes later, Canberra Croatia complete a comeback. Krista Hagen put an absolute terrific through ball to Brittany Palombi, who squared it for Jenny Bissett to make it 3-2. And then 1 minute after that, or maybe even less than a minute after that, Britt Palombi put a low cross across the keeper to Jamie Berkeley, who buried the opportunity to take the reigning champions back level. So many twists and turns was already in this one, which led the match going to extra time. At this stage, with Croatia having the late momentum from that 2-goal comeback and the balance of play back in their hands, it was Olympics' turn to dig a little deeper and to not lose the composure that Canberra Croatia was starting to re-put on this game. And Olympic did just that. 1 minute into the second interval of extra time, the rain, by this point, absolutely bucketing down. Ash Sykes cut across her marker, crossed the ball, a low ball for Brittany Fiorese, who put Olympic ahead 4-3. And just before the end of this game, Canberra Olympic sealed their victory 5-3. Captain Victoria Jamieson intercepted the ball, made a run straight down the middle of the field, cut the ball across to Anna Vandenbroek. With her first touch of the game, she sent Canberra Olympic to the grand final, defeating the league champions Canberra Croatia in the process. Absolutely incredible matchup at Deakin, bucketing down rain by the end of this contest. We mentioned before that they've played each other in the league 3 times this year. 2 of them were draws, and 1 was a Croatia victory. 2-1, I believe that one was. And great work from Olympic here. Congratulations to them. Very, very impressive, especially once again, to take the advantage in extra time, considering Croatia had that momentum with those 2 late goals in normal time there. Very, very impressive from Olympic. Now they await to play the winner of Croatia and Belco in the final. Canberra Croatia, not the day for the reigning champions. They fought back a few times, like I said, but just weren't able to get that final comeback once they conceded against Olympic in that final match. Should be a very, very good match against Belconnen next week. As it says on Dribble, as it stands at the moment, Saturday, September 24th, 3 p.m. at Deakin Stadium, Belco versus Canberra Croatia. Obviously, maybe card subject to change. We'll have to wait and see for that one. But after that one, Michael, it should be an absolutely cracking contest between those 2 sides. Next up, we had CPL with another very, very interesting matchup here. Elimination semi-final, ANU Brindabella Blues, 1-0 to Brindabella Blues. It was all to play for in this elimination semi-final. The loser gets knocked out, and the winner plays the loser between Queanbeyan and Tuggies. Brindabella Blues scored the only goal of the match as Kenzo Sly Umebayashi scored in the first half to give his side the lead, and in hindsight, the winning goal. The play started from a corner that was essentially a massive chip into the box. Very, very well put in there. ANU headed it out, and then there was sort of a scramble for the ball, and Kenzo got a hold of it and struck a shot, taking a little deflection as well in the bottom left corner. It was a tense end to this game, with Brindis having a player sent to the sin bin for the last 6 minutes and stoppage time. So the pressure from ANU, as it was before this point, but it was especially tough for the Brindis at this point, as ANU put on that pressure with an extra man advantage to try and get an equaliser here. But the Cornwall side were able to hold on and advance to play Queanbeyan City in the preliminary semi-final next week. This is the end of the road for ANU this season, and seemingly the end of Talal Safar's run as ANU head coach. Safar announced on Facebook he will be departing the club. He announced that later that night. Best of luck to Safar. Great guy, great coach, and I'm sure we'll see him back in Canberra football soon. I'm sure he would mention as well what his highlights were. For me, just from observing it, one of the highlights of him at ANU had to be that huge 7-8 match win streak, or what that was, where they beat literally everyone, including Tuggeranong. They had a great spell there near the end of the season. Congratulations again, though, to the Brindis. Absolutely huge result for them. They've been in the top 4 conversation the majority of the season. You've seen the improvement. and they had two huge back-to-back wins. They were must-win games against Wagga, where they were below White Eagles on point difference, so they needed to win. It was a must-win game, and it was also a must-win game for them here. They need to beat ANU to make this preliminary final, and they got it done as well. Ray Jr. has this young side brimming with confidence as they head into face Queanbeyan next week. And this fixture is always tough, despite Queanbeyan getting a 4-0 victory over them the last time they played. The other two was a draw and then a slight Queanbeyan win 2-1 at the start of the season. So besides the last match, the Queanbeyan Brindis fixture, as we've said all season, has been a very, very tough one. So I'm sure they're going to be dreaming and hoping to try and make that finals. It's going to be an interesting match up between those two there. So yeah, once again, congratulations to the Brindis. Once again, they're still alive in this finals fight, and they've put another feather in the cap into their really good season.
Yeah, you're right, Matt. I just want to say, congratulations to Brindabella Blues for making it through to the prelim. They deserve it most definitely. They've put in a lot of hard work over the course of the season, and I think in most people's eyes to begin the season, not many people would have picked them to make the top four, and obviously it was something that they were able to do. So congratulations to Brindabella, and you can be sure that they're going to put in a huge effort against Queanbeyan City this weekend. It's going to be an absolutely sort of cracking game. On to our next match, Matt. Tuggeranong United, 5-star performance against Queanbeyan City. Never looked in doubt. Certainly, it was 5-0 to Tuggeranong United as Peterkin, Richards, Hislop, and Gulevsky with a double sealed their passage to the grand final. It was a big matchup between the top two at Melrose Synthetic at the weekend. Tuggeranong once again, proving that they were just a little bit too strong for their opposition. And, they had a strong opening to the match, scoring 6 minutes in through Peterkin. In the 33rd minute, Mark Richards, added to the great start and piled the momentum on for the reigning champions from that moment onwards. And then you saw sort of Hislop extend the lead, making it 3-0 to Tuggies in this one, heading into halftime. And I mean, that's pretty much all you could ask for if you're Tuggeranong, to put on a performance like that, 3-0 at the break. It really goes to show just how dominant they've been this season, even though we're in the finals, and you would maybe expect it to be a little bit tighter and more difficult to break teams down. But I mean, their classes shone through yet again, and they were able to build themselves a very good lead in this one. And then obviously Ryan Gulevsky scored a brace in the space of 5 minutes in the 67th and 72nd minute in the second period, respectively, to make it 5-0 for Mitch Stevens' side and confirm victory in that manner. Tuggeranong seem to have Queanbeyan's number this season, as they've now defeated their rivals in their last 3 encounters in the league. So 2-0, 6-2, and now 5-0. Queanbeyan won the first encounter between the two teams this season, 2-0. It just wasn't Queanbeyan's day against Tuggies in this one, Matt. However, they do have another chance to make the final and try and amend this result when they take on the Brindabella Blues, like we mentioned earlier. As is the benefit when you finish in the top two, you get that second opportunity if you do fall at the first hurdle. So they'll now play Brindabella this weekend to make the final. The last 3 league results between the two are as follows from the beginning of the season. Queanbeyan 2-1, a 1-1 draw, and then Queanbeyan 4-0. So it sort of favours Queanbeyan when these two teams come up against each other. But given the form that Brindabella are in and the confidence after beating ANU, it's going to be an absolutely cracking game. And for Tuggeranong, they've already gained promotion. They've already won the league title, their first trophy in 8 years, which is a great accomplishment for the club. They seem laser focused on trying to add another trophy to the cabinet, sort of, shrugging off the possible question on whether they'll care about, this, considering they've already accomplished the main objective, which was to get promotion this season. But, when it comes to adding more silverware to your trophy cabinet, that's all the motivation that you need, in all honesty. as mentioned before, they will play the winner of Queanbeyan and Brindabella Blues in the game that will take place this weekend between those two sides. So a lot to look forward to in terms of CPL football.
Certainly is. That's us for this week. So many good games this weekend. So many great goals. Well done the Russ as well, we should say, doing 4 games in a row. That last one absolutely bucketing down. Huge effort from him. What a top class commentator he is. So we got some interesting matches coming up, and then of course in 2 weeks' time we've got the grand final. So we'll be back next week to wrap up everything from those preliminary finals in CPL, NPL, and NPLW, and then of course we'll be back the following weekend, or following Monday, should I say, to wrap everything up. Michael, any last words before we head off?
No, I'm just really looking forward to these round of fixtures, Matt, the semi-final week 2, sort of as we call it. So, I mean, there's a lot on the line, and it will obviously determine what teams play in the grand finals the week after. So plenty to unpack the next time we hop on.
There certainly will be. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. That was episode 68 of the Canberra Football Show, and we'll see you next week.